Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So if you're new here, y'all have reached the first episode of something big, something great. But anyways, let's get started. So the first thing you want to do when remaking any edit in general, you can do new composition from footage just so you can get the frame rate. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And I have my audio, I don't even know what it's called, but this was actually suggested from someone. So yeah. And to import your audio or whatever, you can also press Command or Control I, and then you can import it that way. But here's my audio, and here's my edit that I'm going to be remaking today. I don't even know who it's by because this was sent by someone, so yeah. I'm guessing it's someone, this person maybe? I don't know. I don't know what that says, but yeah. But anyways, if we look into the composition settings, we can see that this is at 20 frames per second. So I probably would have done 30 or 24, but this works. But anyways, after this, what we're gonna do is import our pictures. So we're gonna press Command or Control I, and then we're gonna do the first image. I'm gonna do this Frank Ocean image, I think. Yes. Say hello to Frank Ocean, everyone. But anyways, boom. When you remake an edit, guys, always move this layer on top, and then you're gonna scale it down, pressing S on your keyboard, and then just drag that boy down, and then just put it in one of the corners. I like to do this corner right here. You can actually make this a bit bigger, and then yeah, boom. And yeah, so we're gonna be using that as a reference, and the first frame is right, let's see, it's right here for real. So we're going to go right here, and then we're just gonna drag this down, or you can just chop it pressing Shift, Control, or Command D, and then deleting this part, and then yeah. So the first thing I suggest doing is seeing when the image ends. So the image ends right here too, so I'm going to chop this part off, Shift, Control, or Command D, and then delete that access. I can make it one more frame longer, hold on. But yeah, boom. So basically it scales out right here, so we're gonna worry about the shakes later. So yeah, but anyways, basically it scales out first, and then it does the circle thing, but we're gonna worry about the scale out first. So what we're gonna do is go towards the end of your clip, and I'm gonna go right here, and then click that picture or image. And before you do anything, I would pre-compose this. So press Shift, Control, or Command C, and then move all attributes into new composition. Press OK, and then we're gonna press S on this layer. Click that stopwatch, and then you're gonna go to the beginning of your clip or image, and then you're gonna scale it in. And I'm gonna do this much, and then I'm going to highlight over both of these keyframes, and then I'm gonna right-click one of them, Keyframe Assistant, and then Easy Ease. And then after that, we're gonna click one of them, go into our graph editor, change this to value graph, and then we're gonna do a graph like this. And then you can also scale this in a little bit more. And then yeah, basically, if the graph is kind of fast, you want to do a tighter graph. If it's slower, you want to do a looser graph. So yeah, just remember that too. But yeah, we're basically gonna see if this zoom out similar to this one. So it actually ends pretty quick. So I'm just gonna make this a bit tighter, and then yeah, that looks about good. And now guys, we're gonna worry about the circular mask thing. I really don't know, I know how they did this, but guys, whoa. But anyways, we're gonna worry about this one at a time. So after they have done this, we're actually going to use the same image, and I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, just put the image on top again, and then cut it the same way that you did. So Shift, Control, or Command D, delete this part, and then yeah, just cut this part as well. And now guys, what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna have this scale out kind of like this. So it actually it's a circular mask, so that's what we're gonna do. So what we're gonna do, click the image, and then we're gonna pre-compose it, move attributes into new composition, and then we're gonna go into the mask area, and we're gonna click on the ellipse tool. And then after that, we're just gonna drag over this, and then we're gonna hold Shift to make it a perfect circle, and then just let go of everything, and then of course press V, and you can actually move the mask if you want. And then yeah, if you move this background layer, you can see that it looks like this. So yeah, but what we're gonna be doing is actually having this kind of reveal itself. So the first thing I'm noticing is it's zooming out a little bit. So what we're gonna do is use the scale tool, and we're gonna press S, and then we're gonna click the stopwatch, and then we're gonna go to the beginning, kind of to where it starts. So it starts right here. So we're just gonna scale it up a little bit, and then after that, once you play it back, it should zoom out. But then we're just gonna highlight over these, and then we're gonna right click one of them, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, or you can press F9 if you're on a Windows keyboard or whatever, or any keyboard. But yeah, I actually have a shortcut, so yeah, you can also do that. But basically, we're going to do a graph for this as well. And since it's going to be copied, like the graph, I think it starts zooming out like right here. So we're going to move this keyframe like that. Or you can use your speed graph and you can make the point match with this blue line, which is like kind of, we're following our reference. So yeah, but yeah. And then after that, guys, what we're going to be doing is having the mask reveal itself. So I'm going to move these back just a few keyframes. I'm noticing that it's a little off beat, so yeah, but you can also change that later. Also, don't forget to do this word right here, like if you haven't already, because like, yeah, I want to see y'all again. But yeah, anyways, after this, we're going to go into our like mask for this layer. So you're going to want to double click this if you need to, and then you're going to go under masks and then go under mask 1, and then you're going to mess around with this mask expansion. So it's going to start expanding like around the beginning, right around here. So we're going to move the expansion to like a negative number, and you just want it to disappear. So once it disappears, click that stopwatch, mask expansion stopwatch, and then go forward a few keyframes up until the end of your clip, and you're just going to increase that bad boy. And like, you can't really see it right now, but like if you need to, go backwards and then you'll be able to like see it expand. Like you can kind of see the edges, right, y'all? Right. Yeah. But anyways, move this back over here, and then we're gonna use our keyframes again. So highlight over this, and then you're gonna right click one of them, keyframe assistant, easy ease. And then I'm actually gonna do a mid graph. So what I'm gonna do is like move this keyframe to the beginning, go into our graph editor, and then we're gonna do a speed graph. So I'm just gonna do something like this, but it's also way too big, I think. And also, I think I zoomed it out a little bit too fast or too much. So I'm also gonna change that part too. So hold on. I'm gonna move this like over here just a little bit, maybe. That might help. Okay, I think that helped a little bit. Yeah, I think the graph was too far, but it's also like zooming in a little bit too much. So if you want, you can press S, and then what you can do is move the scale like down a little bit, and that should fix the like problem a little bit. But yeah, I think that's a lot better. But guys, after this, we're gonna move on to this like, next part of the transition, and like it gets a little bit darker when it zooms out. So we're gonna go to this bottom layer, and we're gonna press T, which brings up opacity. Click that stopwatch for opacity, go forward a few frames until like it goes fully black, and then we're just gonna change this to a lower amount, probably like around 30, 32. And then once you play this back, it should like do something like that, and we kind of get like the warp effect already, which is kind of cool. And then guys, additionally, I don't think we need more, but anyways, yeah, that's basically this first transition, and it looks like almost exactly alike. But one more thing that we need is a little bit of blur. So I'm going to be using Minimax. So press layer, new adjustment layer. And guys, adjustment layers are really good because you don't want to pile too many effects on the like actual video. And then adjustment layers just apply it on like everything. And that's what we need right now. So yeah. But anyways, cut that adjustment layer. And then you're going to search for the effect Minimax in your effects and presets. Search for Minimax and then apply that on there. And then I'm going to increase it to like about maybe like 3, because we don't want too much. But yeah, basically when the transition is like at its peak, if that makes sense, we're gonna click that radius stopwatch, and then you're gonna go forward, well, backwards a little bit, and then you're gonna change it to 0, and then you're gonna go like a few frames past the like max, and then set it to 0. But if you want to see that, just press U on this adjustment layer, and then yeah, just make sure it's like 0, that amount that you have, and then back to 0. So I'm going to set it back to 0 right here. And then if you want, I'm actually going to add just a little bit more. I'm going to do like 5. Yeah, you know what, I'm going to do 6, because like 6, 7. But yeah, but basically once you play it back, boom. But yeah, if you don't want to use Minimax, you can also use regular blur. I honestly don't think they use Minimax. I'm pretty sure they use like Gaussian blur. So if you want, you can replace that for Gaussian blur, but Minimax is a pretty good like blur. I think it looks really good on most edits. But yeah, I'm just gonna do Gaussian blur really quick just so I can like see which one I like better. But yeah, and low key, I think the Gaussian blur is only applied to the mask. So I was like wrong. Yeah, I think it is. Guys, I misspoke. We do not need the adjustment layer. So guys, for the blur, add Gaussian blur to the actual mask, and then I think it's gonna go from like 15, and then click the stopwatch, go forward a few frames, set that to 0, and then go backwards a few frames and set that to 0. So then it goes 0, 0, 15, then 0. But yeah, Yeah, I think the blur is a lot better. But yeah, then we get like the actual like effect that we need. So yeah, it looks something like that. Boosh. And guys, if you ask me, it looks pretty similar. But we just need the saturation part because yeah. So what you're gonna do is search for saturation in effects and presets. Add hue and saturation to the bottom layer because we're gonna focus on that first. And as it's scaling out, the saturation is gonna go from 100 to 0 like right away. So press this stopwatch button for channel range. Go forward a few frames until the opacity is at like 0, and then you're just gonna set that master saturation to a negative number. So negative, like near negative 100 is fine. I think I'm just gonna do 100 because yeah. And then after this, I'm gonna do the same thing for the top layer, but instead of it going from 100 to 0, it's gonna go from 0 to 100. So what we're gonna do is set this to close to 100. I think I'm gonna do like negative 76. Oh, opposite of 6.7. And then after that, I'm going to click that stopwatch for channel range again, go forward a few frames, and then it's gonna go back to 100. Well, 0, sorry. And then yeah, once you play this back, you should get something like this, and yeah. So yeah, that is the first transition. And then of course you can add like some, it looks like glow, maybe brightness. So this time we're gonna add an adjustment layer, or you can use prime tools if you have that. But yeah, I think prime tools is like a lot better because it automatically cuts it. But yeah, we're just gonna add some exposure on this part, so add that on there, or you can add glow, but exposure, so I can be a little bit more inclusive. So it's gonna go from like 1.8, set that stopwatch, go forward a few frames, and then it's gonna go to 0. And then once you play this back, it looks like this. Pretty similar if you ask me. Now, for this last part, it's basically going into another transition, so we finished this part. So we're gonna pre-compose all this, click the top one, click the bottom one, Shift Command C to pre-compose it all, press OK, and then yeah, it goes into like a slide. So for the slide, they use motion tile, I can tell. So what we're gonna do is search for motion tile, add that on there, and then we're gonna do like 200 by 200. So output width 200, but we don't have to change the height because it's only the width that they're like doing because it's in a horizontal slide. So what we're gonna do is basically see where it starts. So it's gonna start like around here, and then we're gonna press P on our layer for position, click the stopwatch, and then you're gonna go to the end of your clip. So like it's literally one frame. So we're just gonna move this bad boy to the left, and it's going like right here. So it ends right there if you can't tell. But yeah, we basically don't need motion blur for real, but we're going to see what happens when we add it. What I suggest is moving this forward a little bit and then moving this keyframe back, so then you get like natural motion blur. But yeah. Anyways, what we're gonna do is now get our second image because we're moving on to the second like part of this edit. So we're going to press Command or Control I to import your second clip, and I'm using this silly Frank Ocean picture. I like seeing this like a lot, I feel like. But yeah, boom. The clip is gonna start right here, so I'm gonna position this differently. But yeah, it's gonna start right here, so press Shift Control or Command D, cut that part, and then you wanna do the same thing, see where the clip ends. So it ends like right here, so cut that and then delete. And then after this, what we're going to do is pre-compose this image one more time. Well, not one more time because we got a whole lot of pre-comps left, but press Shift Control or Command C, pre-compose this. And then what we're going to do is finish this like transition basically. So what we're going to do is add motion tile on here again, and then we're going to change the output width to 200. And then after that, we're going to press P on this layer, go towards the end, and then you're going to click the stopwatch, then go to the beginning, and then you're going to move this to the right this time. And then if you want, you can move the width to like a higher amount. So yeah, and then you're gonna move this over just a little bit over the middle or center, and then highlight over these, keyframe assistant, easy ease, all that good stuff. And then yeah, just from now on, when I say easy ease, right click the keyframe, easy ease both of them after selecting both of them. But yeah, go into the graph editor, change this to value graph. But guys, we have a problem. You can't move this. So what you have to do is separate the dimensions. So what you're gonna do is right click this, press separate dimensions, and then you're gonna wanna delete the Y position because we're moving X position. And then you're just gonna like click off of it and then delete that keyframe. Just press the stopwatch. And then what you wanna do is highlight the keyframes again and then you're going to easy ease them, and then you're going to go back into your graph editor, and you should be able to change those. And this graph is like pretty fast, so it's basically gonna be like this. And then of course turn on motion blur, and then yeah, the transition should be complete. It's pretty fast though, not gonna lie. So I suggest moving this like a little bit more, maybe like making it like super fast, but like at the same time, yeah, if you remove the motion blur, it's gonna look something like this. So yeah, but just keep that in mind. If you want, you can also add directional blur. But yeah, maybe, yeah, sometimes motion blurs can make like things look like slower, if that makes sense, because the motion blur like makes it look smooth and like yeah. But yeah, the keyframe should look something like this. I'm not gonna end up whatever, but anyways, I'm gonna scale in this image just a little bit more because the black line, you could see it, and that's why we pre-compose our image every single time. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. But anyways, in this image you can tell like there's some type of warp. So what we're gonna do is add some skew shake on this image, but instead of adding it to the actual image, we're gonna add an adjustment layer. So if you want, you can go to layer, new, adjustment layer, but I'm gonna use Naughty Wan's prime tools. And then after that, we're gonna add some skew. And then instead of searching up skew, because that's not an actual effect, you're gonna have to search for transform. So search for transform, hold on. Yeah, so add transform onto the adjustment layer, and then skew is right here. So we're going to need some more like motion tiles. So you're gonna have to change this to 300 or 200, and then you're gonna go to the beginning, and then basically you're gonna kind of follow the keyframes for this like reference video. And there's not a lot of skew, it's just very little, I think. But yeah, it's like right here. So click the stopwatch for right there, go for like 2 or 3 frames maybe, well towards the end, and then just change it to 0 because we're gonna add like a bouncy shake. But yeah, once you play back, it looks something like that. And to make it look a little bit bouncy, you're gonna press U on your keyframe or keyboard, sorry, highlight over these, and then you're gonna easy ease them, and then you're gonna go into your graph editor, and on your value graph, you're gonna do like a little overshoot graph. So it should look something like this, but it might look a little stiff. So what you wanna do is maybe like change some of this. So I'm just gonna do this overshoot graph right here, and then do something maybe like this. I'm gonna try that real quick. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. So this is not an overshoot graph, but an undershoot graph. But basically, you want to put it like past this black line, and then turn on motion blur for the adjustment layer, and it should look something like that. And it's like a little bit, you know, bouncy. But yeah, we are done with the second like transition part for real. So yeah. And then one more thing that I want to add is motion or minimax. So minimax is that blur that we were about to apply last time, but we didn't end up needing it, but we're going to need it now. So press adjustment layer, or you know, add it on there, and then you're going to put it over these 2 clips, and then you're going to search for minimax. Hold on, minimax. Add that on there, and then you're going to change the minimax to just horizontal, and then you're going to go to the beginning of your adjustment layer, like right before it moves. Click the radius stopwatch, go forward a few frames, and then you're going to change the radius to about like maybe 10, maybe, yeah. And then it's going to go to 0. So when the transition is like almost complete, you want to set it to 0. And then once you play it back, you get this like minimax. It's very not that noticeable, but like you can see it for real. Like on my screen, I see that stuff. But yeah, I just increased it a little bit more, maybe do 10 honestly. And yeah, and then also you can move this like position keyframe back 1 maybe, because yeah, it only moves 1 frame for real, and the minimax activates on this frame, so it's like literally the same. And then once you play it back, yeah, it's a little bit faster. So yeah, guys, when you remake edits, you like literally learn as you go, and that's like the whole point of this series that I'm trying to make. And that's just like learning how to look at an edit and know what effects to use. But anyways, next we're basically gonna compose everything, but pre-compose all of this. So click the top one, hold shift, click this bottom one, and then pre-compose this. We're gonna do a lot of pre-composing if you didn't notice already. But basically, this goes into a warp shakeout or whatever it's called. I don't know what to call this, but basically it's gonna warp. So basically what we're gonna do is press S, and then we're gonna press the stopwatch for scale, go forward a few frames, and the scale only moves just a little bit. It's like not too much scale, but then you're also gonna add motion tile on this. I suggest adding motion tile before you do scale, but yeah, we're gonna do output width to 200 and then do output height to 200, and then you can turn on mirror edges. And then after that, what you're gonna do is move this to the end, and then you're gonna highlight over these, easy ease them, click the stopwatch, graph editor, and then you're gonna do a graph like this, and it should look something like that. And then once you play it back, it should start moving out, but honestly, I suggest like maybe scaling this out a little bit more, just so like it's like right there on this keyframe, if that makes sense, because the keyframes are a little bit weird, not gonna lie. But anyways, I'm just gonna edit this graph a little bit more because it is a tight graph, and we basically want it to look like this. And instead of doing the lines like this, I kind of do them like this, just so it's like kind of crooked. But yeah, we kind of want it to be like tight. And then turn on motion blur, of course. And then yeah, after that, we're gonna add some warp. So what you're gonna do is add an adjustment layer, and then you're gonna search for warp on here, and then you're gonna add that on there after I find it, which is right here. Add that on the adjustment layer, change this to fisheye, and then change this to 0 for bend, and then you're gonna click the stopwatch right here, and then after that you're gonna go to the end of your clip, and then you're gonna do a negative number, which is -100. Press U on your keyframe or keyboard, sorry, and then you're gonna highlight over all of this, and then you're gonna easy ease that, click the graph editor, and then you're gonna do something like so, just like this. And then if you want, you can do a small overshoot graph, like yeah, like that. I kind of like the overshoot graphs, honestly. I think they look really good. But yeah, then you just have to move this back a little bit more, and like I think it removes the warp a little bit, not gonna lie. But yeah, if you want, you can move the warp like back 1 frame, and then yeah, boom. If you can see, the overshoot graph makes it like kind of bouncy, and then once you play this back, it looks kind of exactly alike. Like, y'all, we haven't even like added shakes or anything, and it already looks similar. Like, don't play. But anywho, now that we have done that, what we're gonna do is do this part of the edit, and this is like these like flips or panels. And guys, these things that you're seeing on screen, these are logos. You can actually add that at the end. I'm not gonna do a tutorial on the logos because this video would be pretty long, but yeah. Now you're gonna import another one of your images if it's not already in your timeline. I'm going to use this one right here, I think. Add that on there. And then after that, what I'm going to do is move it over here, and then we're gonna kind of like watch this back really quick, and then where it ends like right here. So delete this part, and then we're basically copying the exact same keyframes. Yeah, and basically what it does is it flips. So what we're gonna be doing, click the stopwatch for like the rotation is what we're doing. So before we do that, we have to make it 3D actually, and then after that you're gonna press S and make sure in the beginning of your clip and press the stopwatch, and then press R, and then I think this is, we're doing X and Y, so just press both of those, and then press U, and then that brings up all your keyframes. Now we're gonna go to the point where it like kind of stops, which is like right here, and then it basically flips with the Y rotation like maybe twice, and then it scales out. So do 360, and then you're gonna scale it down about the same amount, and then once you play it back, you can kind of see like how it looks really quick. I think it goes the opposite way, so instead of doing 1, do -1, and that's just -360, if that makes sense. And yeah, we're about to edit this in a little bit. I honestly don't think it's 360. I think it's like more so, I don't know, but maybe it's like, hold on guys, it might start at 180 and go to 0, or vice versa. Okay, so at the beginning, do like 180 actually, and then the last one, do 0. Yeah, let's try that real quick. And then what you're gonna do, you can highlight over all these and then easy ease them. And then what you're gonna do is go into your graph editor, but instead of doing all of them one by one, we're just gonna do them one by one actually. So click one of your keyframes, and then what you're gonna do is do a graph like this, and yeah, just like we've been doing before basically. And then you're gonna do the same exact graph for the scale, and then it should look something similar to that. Yeah, and then yeah, it should look something like this. And then guys, after that, you can add motion blur if you want. I'm gonna add motion blur, of course, because I can't go without my motion blur. And then after that, what we're gonna do is add a light, because as you can see, the opacity like changes like right here, and I think that's because of the light. So what we're gonna do is press layer, new, light, and then this is gonna be a parallel light, I believe. Yeah. And then I'm gonna decrease the intensity a little bit. It should be at like 100, so keep it at that. And then I'm gonna chop the light really quick. And also, I'm gonna move this a little bit, because I'm gonna do, yeah. And then we're gonna keep the light because it's gonna be used in these photos right here in a second. So yeah. And then guys, I have one frame where the light isn't on it, just so it's like not so dark. You can actually kind of see the transition. But yeah, you can add the light on there though, honestly. It looks about the same. So yeah. But anyways, after you have done this, we're gonna go into our next part, which is it moving upwards. So the like thingy changes, and like you can kind of see like bounces kind of like right here. So we're gonna use our X rotation, and that's when we're gonna like do this stuff right here. So what we're gonna do is go to the point where it like starts to do that, and we're gonna click. Well, you don't have to click anything, just move this over here for X rotation. Go forward a few frames, and it's gonna go down a little bit, and then your Y position is gonna move a little bit. So it's gonna go like plus 12, plus 8. And then after that, you're gonna go forward a few frames, and then you're gonna change this back to 0, and then you're gonna change this to like a negative number. So like negative 71 or so, negative 80, and then just move this to the end of your clip. Yeah. And then as you can see, it kind of like does it. But what we need to do now is do positioning and stuff. So before you do that, I'm going to add a little graph on these. So click one of them, go into your graph editor, and then we can do something like this. It really doesn't like do anything for real, but like, yeah, just a little something. It doesn't have to be too tight, but yeah. I'm going to do a graph like this on this one. And then guys, finally, we're going to do the positioning. So press P on your keyboard. And then after that, what you're gonna do is right click the like word position and separate the dimensions. And I told you guys about this last time, but we're gonna be moving the Y positioning. So press the stopwatch for that. Go to the end of your like thingy-mabob, and then you're just gonna go upwards with the picture all the way until it disappears. And then after that, move this to the very end of your clip and then highlight over it, and then easy ease it. Go into your graph editor, and then you're just going to do a graph like this, and then just like that. And then if you want, you can do a small overshoot graph, so it like goes down a little bit before like, you know, goes up. Yeah. And then once you play it back all together, it should look pretty similar. But yeah, I think it looks really good so far. And then we're gonna go on to our third image. So Control I like last time if it's not already imported. And then I think I'm going to do a photo of him on stage. So this one right here. And then what I'm gonna do is basically cut this real quick, delete this part. And then the picture ends like, it doesn't even end because it goes into this like grid thing. So for real, it ends like, let's see, I'm about to see. It ends like right here because it fades away. So we're gonna delete it right there. And then guys, we actually don't need to pre-compose this one, but you can if you want, just in case you want to save the image, like change it later. But yeah, pre-composing, you can always change the image if you pre-compose it. But yeah, when we finish this transition, we're gonna press P on the image, right click the word position, separate the dimensions, and then we're gonna be moving the X, just kidding, the Y positioning again. And so what we're gonna do is first scale this down because yeah. And then after that, we're going to press P again, and then we're gonna do Y position real quick. So go to the beginning of your like image and then press Y position, and then you're gonna press R and make sure this is 3D. And then after that, you're just gonna press X rotation. And then basically we're gonna increase that X rotation like by like about 90. And then press U on your keyboard to bring up all your keyframes. And then you're gonna move the position all the way down. But before you do that, just put the position keyframe over here before you move anything in the position, and then move this down. And then once you play it back, it moves in place, and then change the X rotation to 0. And then once you play it back, you should get something like this, and it flips. So yeah. And then I'm gonna move the Y position up just a little bit, and then highlight over all these, easy ease, and then you're going to go into your graph editor, but you need to go one by one for this, and then just do something like this. So I hope you guys understand the graphs just a little bit more. I think it's pretty like repetitive, But yeah, I'm still gonna go with you guys along the way because I love you so much. And honestly, this like flip is pretty fast. So I'm gonna move these keyframes closer together. I'm gonna move them like right there. And then if you want, you can move the keyframes closer together so it's a little bit faster. And then yeah. And then after that, add motion blur, of course. And then yeah, you're done with like this flip right here. But I'm also gonna edit the position for this too. So I'm gonna like, let's see. I think I'm gonna move the position like a little bit more forward, but not too close. All right, I'm gonna move the position down just a little bit more. Yeah. And then after that, I'm going to change these keyframes just a little bit because I still want it to be fast. And then also, if you want, you can delete the light from the first frame of this, and then that way you can like see the transition a little bit more. So then it goes like, yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah, you can see like a little bit more if you delete the first frame off the light. But after this, guys, we're going to use our positioning again, and this time we're gonna add a null layer because we're gonna like do this like slide thing right here. And yeah, now boom. So go up to layer, new, and then null layer, and then after that I'm just gonna chop it down like right here when it actually starts. And then you're gonna make the null layer 3D, of course. And then after that, I'm gonna connect this image to the null layer. And then this is where I need to import my other two photos. And I'm gonna use this photo right here. And then I'm also going to use another photo, one sec. All right, so I'm gonna start overlapping it like right here. And then make sure this image is 3D and then put it with the null layer. So link that, just drag this to the null. And then I'm gonna need one more image, and that is going to be his blonde era. Perfect. And then yeah, I'm going to put that on over here, drag this over here. And then I'm also gonna scale down this image of the banana on his head. And then we're gonna wanna make these photos like the same size. So if you need to use this as reference, like right there. And then this second image slides on right here, and the third image slides on like close to here. So, and then everything ends like right there. And then just delete the access parts of this image. And now guys, we need to set up how it's gonna be positioned. So press V to bring up your selection if it's not already there. And we're gonna move this image to, it's gonna be on this side. So put it right like next to it. And then after that, we're going to put the third image on top of this like image on the side, if you can't see it. But yeah, it should be pretty aligned. But yeah, so now we're gonna start with the null layer movements. So basically it's gonna come up, and then I'm also going to change the like position or like opacity on here. So I'm going to first make this start off at 0. So press T, set that to 0, click the stopwatch, and then go forward a few frames, like 2, and then go to 100%. And then on this third one, do the same thing, press T for opacity, and then click the stopwatch, go forward a few frames, and then change that to 100. But this should be 100, and then the beginning should be 0. Yeah. But now we're gonna like add the like 3D flips really quick too, because I think it's gonna be like easier. So what we're gonna do is press R on the second layer, and we're gonna be moving that Y position or rotation, my bad. And basically the rotation's pretty light, so it's gonna go from like about 35, 36 when it's at 0 opacity. Make sure it's at the beginning of that, and then go forward a few frames, and then it's gonna go to 0. So put that to 0, and then you can barely like see it, but I hope you can see it on the side. But then highlight over all these, and then go into the graph editor, and then you can zoom this in a little bit more. And then you're just gonna do a graph like this, a basic out graph. It doesn't need to be like super tight or whatever, but yeah. And then for this third image, it like rotates from the top, so press R. You can barely see it, but if you need to see it better, you can always do the null layer right now. So I'm gonna focus on that in a second, but yeah, I'm gonna add my movement now. So we're gonna add one more null layer, so layer, new, null object. But before we do that, we need to make sure our images are connected to the null layer first. So yeah, make sure this image is 3D, and that is the third one. So yeah, and then also make sure the third picture is connected to null layer 1 before you add another one. So what we're gonna do is add another null layer, layer, new, and then null. And then after that, I'm going to chop it again, just so it's not like long and in the way. But yeah, and then it ends right here, so chop that. And then you can also chop the other one, I think. Yeah, never mind. So yeah, you can't chop the other one actually, so don't try to chop it because it will disappear. Well, you won't be able to move it, but if you chop it before you connect it to everything, it should move. But actually, wait, let me try something. Okay, you can't move it. Okay, I'm gonna chop this second, like first null layer 2 actually, and then yeah. Basically, once you have linked the null layer 1 to null layer 2, just like that, what you can do is move the position now. So what I'm gonna do, once this slides up, we're gonna move over to null layer 2, click the position for that. But before you do that, right click it, separate the dimensions, and then you're gonna do X position. So make sure you only do X position. Yeah, so click that, go forward a few frames, so like right here, and then like slide it over basically. And then yeah, and then as you can see in the reference or whatever, this image starts to disappear. So we're gonna go to our first image that like flipped, and then press T, click opacity, and I'm gonna move this 1 frame back, or 2 frames, yeah, and then go forward a few frames and then change it to 0, and then it should disappear when it's like sliding, but we have to add a graph, of course. So there's gonna be a mid graph right here, so it's gonna be like in the middle, probably like right here. So highlight over these, go into the graph, and then you're gonna change this to speed graph, and then you're going to do something like this. I totally forgot, if you do speed graph, you don't need to separate the dimensions, so it would have been okay if you didn't separate them. But yeah, basically it does this. So as you can see, it slides right here, and then we're gonna add 1 more null layer, so then it slides at the top. So layer, new, null layer. But I'm gonna use prime tools, so I save me a bit of time, and then just make this 3D. Make sure all these are 3D, and then connect it to null layer 3. Well, connect null layer 2 to null layer 3. Press P, and then after that, you're going to start it like in the middle of this movement kind of. So press the stopwatch, go forward a few frames, and then you're gonna move the position up right here. And then I'm gonna change the position of this third image. So I'm just gonna position this over a little bit, like right here. And then yeah, I'm going to highlight over these keyframes, easy ease them. And then I'm gonna do another mid graph, matching it with my reference. And then it's gonna look something like this. And guys, the reason why I can tell like how to do these mid graphs is because the fastest point is like where your point is going to be in this graph. Like when the edit like gets faster in between like the movement, yeah, it's kind of hard to explain, but yeah, it should look something like this. You actually can't really see like the flip for real, so I'm going to add a little bit more of that rotation, and then I'm also going to have this second image fade away. So what I'm going to do is press T, go forward, well, go back a few frames, so maybe like 2 or 3, click the opacity, go forward, and then it should be at completely 0, just like the reference. I want to move this 1 frame forward too, yeah. And then also I'm going to edit the like flipping, so press U on this, and then you can move the rotation like forward a little bit, and then of course turn on motion blur for these, and then yeah, you should be able to see the flip a little bit more. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the third image, press U, and then I'm going to move the rotation. I actually didn't add a rotation to this, I forgot about that. So yeah, so for this rotation, we're moving X rotation for this one. So when the flip ends in the clip, you're just gonna press the X rotation and then go backwards like a few frames before it like disappears, and then just increase this really quick. And then you can go back to like the beginning when it like starts to fade in, and then you're just going to do a graph like this. So highlight over this, easy ease, and then change this to value graph. And then yeah, you can do a graph like this. Yeah, and then you can see that like rotation. And then guys, at the end of this, it like positions to the left. Yeah, so if you want, you can pre-compose everything, these lights included. You don't need to pre-compose the other pre-compose, because I feel like when you pre-compose too much, it starts glitching, but we're pre-composing like a lot so far. But yeah, just pre-compose. And then if you want, you can cut it off when it cuts off. But anyways, we're gonna press P, position on this layer, click the stopwatch, and then go forward a few frames towards the end. And then we're just gonna move this all the way to like the left, because that's what it's doing. And then move this 1 frame forward, highlight over these, press Y, or easy ease them. And you actually need to separate the dimensions. I keep forgetting to do that actually. And so yeah, I'm going to remove the Y position, and then we're just doing X position. So highlight over these 1 more time, easy ease them. Don't forget to separate the dimensions, guys. Don't be like me. And then the graph is pretty tight actually. So yeah, I'm going to add motion blur, of course. And then I'm actually going to, let's see. Yeah, that's fine. And then yeah, now we go into our fourth photo. Yeah, maybe. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sixth photo. Dang, we move pretty quick. Anywho, we are going to import our sixth photo, which is going to be low-key. I think I'm gonna do this photo. Yeah. So yeah, add that photo on there, and then after that, what we're gonna do is it's going to stop. We'll start right here, I believe. Yeah, and then it ends like around here. So stop it right here. Move it 1 frame forward. Actually, no, I lied. Don't. But yeah, it starts right there, ends like around here because it does like this like circular transition. So yeah, I'm excited for this one because this one is kind of complicated. But yeah, what I'm going to do is scale this up using scale, which is S, and then I'm going to pre-compose it just like always. And then I'm gonna have to duplicate this layer, so press Command or Control D, and then we're gonna make a mask. So before you duplicate it, actually, you're gonna do the mask, and I'm gonna turn on proportional grid so we can create an even mask, and we're gonna use rectangle tool, and we're gonna section this part out. So this like whole middle section, or you can do like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, press V to like edit it, but it's gonna move the whole thing. So what I suggest doing is just double clicking it, and then you can like move it. And make sure it's with the green lines. And then after this, you're gonna duplicate it, and then you're on this bottom one, you're going to invert the mask. And then it does that. And then it should be like 2 separate parts. And then you can turn off proportional grid. So yeah. Now the first part that moves in is the middle section. So we're going to move like whatever this background part is. Yeah, that's going to be off screen for now, so just position that to the right for now. And then we're going to position in this one. So in the beginning, it's going to go off screen, but yeah, when it like fully comes on the screen, which is like right here, we're going to click that stopwatch, and then you're going to go to the beginning, and then you're going to move it all the way to the right, and then highlight over all these, and then press your easy ease button, or just easy ease them. And guys, don't forget to separate the dimensions. I forgot about it a freaking again, bro. But yeah, remove the Y position, and then you're gonna do X position, and then you're just going to do a graph, something like this, something like this, just like last time. I don't know if this is called an in graph or an out graph because I keep mixing those up for some reason. But yeah, boom, turn on motion blur, and then for the second part, it comes in like starting like right after, kind of. So like right here, and then press P, click the stopwatch, and then you're just gonna position it over. And if you're worried about like not positioning it right, basically, I'm pretty sure the numbers are 360 by 360, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. And then after that, it should link, well, it stops like, yeah, it stops right here. But yeah, highlight over this before you highlight it and easy ease it. Separate the dimensions, and then you're gonna delete the Y position, click the X position, easy ease it, turn on motion blur, and then do the same graph similar to the last one. I think this one is like, I don't know, but yeah, do a similar graph. I think this one comes on a little bit later. I don't know, I feel like it's too fast. Hold up. Oh, did I graph this one? What kind of graph is this? Oh well, let's do something like this, guys. Guys, why does this look weird? Okay, basically it looks a little stiff, so what I'm gonna do is make this less tight, and I'm gonna make it a little bit slower. Not too fast, not too slow. I'm gonna check this really quick. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. And then guys, after this, you can actually duplicate this, but before you do that, this front, like this middle section is gonna be black and white, so I'm gonna add saturation again. I also realized that there's like a saturation part like in the beginning, like not the beginning, but it was in the beginning, but like in the middle more so. But yeah, basically it's gonna go from -100, click the stopwatch, go forward a few frames, and then it's gonna go to 0, and then once you play it back, yeah, it should look something like that. And then guys, you can pre-compose these images both, and then after that, after you pre-compose it, what you can do is have it like zoom in a little bit, like when it starts connecting, because I'm seeing that in this edit a little bit. And then yeah, so I'm going to do a speed graph for this one, and it like zooms in like right here. So in the middle of these, we're going to add a speed graph, easy ease those, change this to speed graph, and then we're going to do a graph like this. Hold on chat, something like this. Okay, maybe not so fast, because yeah, don't do that, maybe a little looser. Anyways, after this, what we're going to do is have it zoom out now. So it like zooms out like right let's see, zooms out like right here. So we're just gonna zoom that out, and then we're gonna do like a graph basically, of course, and we're gonna do a graph like this, and we're using the speed graph. You can use the value graph, but yeah, it looks something like this. But yeah, we kind of want it to be tight because yeah, but as you can see, it zooms in a little bit, kind of like an overshoot, and then quickly goes out. But yeah, and then also I can see that there's some warp, so what we're gonna have to do is add an adjustment layer. So add an adjustment layer, and then you're gonna add some warp, which is right here, and then change this bad boy to fisheye, and then we're gonna change this to 0 for the start. Maybe start it like right here, so click the stopwatch right there, go towards the end, or like where the warp is for real, change it to -100, press U to bring up the keyframes. Oh, I think it starts, well, right here. And then right here, it's gonna go back to 0. So it's gonna go from 0, 100, and then 0, I believe. And then highlight over these, easy ease them, and then we're gonna use the value graph as best as we can. So I'm pretty sure it's like this, and then it's also like this. So kind of like, wait, okay, I see what it's doing, guys. So basically, we don't need this keyframe. Well, we don't need this. Okay, guys, I figured it out. Anyways, once it does this, what you're gonna do, once it goes back to 0, you want to move this keyframe all the way to the left, well, towards the left, and like right here, you don't want that. You want it to be like this basically. So it zooms out, starting to zoom out right here, and then on this frame it goes back to normal kind of. And then yeah, I don't see the point in like adding another picture and then doing the same like motion and stuff, so we're just gonna leave it like that, but it looks pretty similar to this. And then of course add motion blur to this, and add motion blur to the thingy-mabob. But yeah, it shouldn't look so stiff, so I'm gonna move that bad boy like over. But yeah, if you want, you don't even have to add the warp at all. I think it looks better without motion blur, like for the warp, but like it's not that bad. It's just that like this part right here, it's just ugly, but it's not terrible. I think it's gonna look better with a shake if we add that. But yeah, after this, guys, basically we're gonna add a null layer and have this like rotate into the image right here. And then yeah, so what we're gonna do is pre-compose all of this, and we can always change this later. But yeah, after that, we're gonna find our other image, and it's going to be this one with the camera. And as you can see, it's like a whole bunch of like cubes in the background, like they like kind of slide in as one. So we're gonna try to do that effect right there. And so what we're gonna do is scale this down, and then we're going to see like, yeah. All right, so we're gonna try to like do this as best as possible, because this one is gonna be a little bit different. Guys, I'm getting sleepy, what the heck? But anyways, basically, we're gonna split this up into like different sections. So the images start rotating around here, so I'm gonna cut this really quick. And then what we need to do is like duplicate this a whole bunch of times, but I'm gonna see what it looks like with proportional grid really quick. I'm trying to see how I want to do this. Okay, I think we're gonna use grid in proportional grid, maybe just proportional grid. All right, so we're gonna duplicate this 7 times because we want a total of 8. So Control D or Command D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, y'all, I just said the number. Anyways, what we're going to do is turn on proportional grid, and then we're gonna use this as like, yeah, as our thing for the squares. So for this one, it might be a little bit different, because if your image is more so squarish, it's gonna look a little bit different, but mine are gonna be like more so rectangles. So I'm gonna use my rectangles as a guide. So for this one, I'm gonna get this corner, and I'm gonna do like, let's see, I'm gonna try to use my eye as best as possible to get the squares. So it's gonna be like these, this, and then for the third one, it's gonna be from this to this. And then as you can see, I'm not doing this right, but yeah, if we use our imaginary line, we're gonna fix this in a second. But yeah, you kind of want to make a row of 3 on the top, a row of 2 on the sides, and then your row of 3 in a second. So hold on one second. And then this one, you're just gonna do this one, because you're not gonna do a middle row for this one. And then for the bottom 3, it's gonna be like boom, and then boom, and then boom. All right, now I'm going to disable the view of this reference video because it's in the way, and then I'm also going to turn off the Frank Ocean video thing. Now, as you can see, our squares are very not good. So what you're going to have to do is basically on the layers, you're going to have to click the mask, and then you're going to have to fix them. And to fix them, double click it, of course. And then, yeah, you can move them how you need to. So I'm going to do something like, let's see. To make them even, I'm going to move them out just a little bit more like this. And then same thing for this one. I'm going to have to, double click the mask right here. And then align it with the one next to it. So make sure there's no like black in between. And then, yeah, basically, I'm doing this. So double click that mask. And then, yeah, it starts right here. So move that over a little bit. Ends right here. And then for this second row, I think I got this one pretty good, pretty decent. But I might need to move it down a little bit. And then, hold on. If you need to, zoom in. But I'm also going to have to move this to the side a little bit. Okay, look at that. This is uneven. So I'm going to move this mask over a little bit too. So double click it and then scale it down if you need to. Same thing with the first one. In fact, you can actually turn off proportional grid for now until you like fix it, because you can still see the black lines. And it's okay if it's overlapping a little bit, just so you don't see that. And then for the third one, double click it and then do something like that. And guys, if there's a tiny slither of black line, don't worry about it too much, because the image is going to be moving at the end of the day. It's going to be moving at the end of the day. Okay. But yeah, just keep on double clicking that line and moving it down. And then for the second row, we're going to double click it and then we're going to align it with this one right here. And this is where you can add the adjustment layer again. But yeah, leave that middle section open because we're going to do something with that. Yeah, double click, slide in there. And then the last row we're going to fix too. So we're going to double click this one, double click, and then we're going to do something like this. It's kind of like a puzzle. It's like an editing puzzle, guys. We have to fit the pieces together perfectly, or else the world is going to explode. And then of course, we're going to connect this with this, which is right there. And then guys, for the last one, we're just going to double click this one and then align it like this, so. And then once you zoom back out, we should have a little piece in the center and all of our image should be together. Boom. So I think this is the most advanced part, but I think, yeah, it works. So we did it. And I was able to come up with that idea. And yeah, I don't think there's a specific way to edit. You just got to come up with a way that's smart and then just do it. This probably wasn't the smartest option, but it's the smartest thing I think of. But anyways, we're going to enable the view of this reference real quick. And then we're going to also enable the view for this as well. And as you can see, guys, this is a square and this is a rectangle. So what we're gonna have to do is morph the shape in just a second. But what we're gonna do is make a mask and it's gonna be rectangle. So we're gonna turn the opacity down really quick. And then we're gonna do a rectangular mask, which matches this right here. And then wait, turn the opacity up. And then you're gonna change the mask expansion to a higher amount. And then, yeah, you're about to see what I'm about to do. You're probably gonna have to do like a way higher amount, guys. But yeah. So boom, it slides, zooms out, and then it spins into the shape. So you're gonna press S, stopwatch, R, stopwatch, press U, and then I think it starts rotating like a few, like right here actually. Go forward a few frames, and then you're gonna rotate it like right here, and then you're about to scale it down in a second. But before we do that, we're also going to change the shape. So what you're gonna do is double click this, go to mask, and then you're going to change the expansion to the rectangle. So you're gonna have to go down with the expansion with the pixels, and then you're gonna do that. And then turn on motion blur, of course. And yeah, but actually you need to keyframe the expansion. I totally forgot to say that. That's my bad, guys. So I'm just gonna set it right here. So just click it right now if you haven't, and then go to the beginning or whatever, and then enable it by like a lot. And then yeah, you can do the last frame. Honestly, I think, let's see, maybe it can start like right here or like right here. Hold on, I'm trying to see which one looks better. Okay, you can move this all the way out if you need to, but before you do that, you gotta watch this part. All right, guys, so yeah, so I kind of moved the keyframes. I don't know how I want to do the keyframes, but I'm gonna leave them like this. But we're just gonna start moving the actual like other keyframes. So it's gonna be the rotation and the scale. Yeah, but low-key, the scale is like good. I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, highlight over all of these, and then you're gonna ease them, And then after this, what you're going to do is now go into your graph editor, but first you're gonna have to click one of them because you can't move all of them at the same time with value graph. So yeah, now you're gonna do rotation, and then you're gonna do a graph like this, and then yeah, I suggest moving this keyframe all the way to the end, honestly. Yeah, and then yeah, after that it should look something like that. And then we're just gonna finish the picture by like rotating it completely. But guys, we have one more photo we need to add in the center, and that is, can you guess? Yeah, that's that center photo. So basically we're gonna duplicate the center, well, not the center, but we're gonna duplicate one of the images from our like 8 cubes, and then we're going to delete one of the masks, and then we're just gonna make a mask in the center, and then it's gonna be something like that. And then you're gonna have to double click it with the selection tool and then stretch it out. And then yeah, okay, hold on, so you might have to zoom in just so you can like see the line better, but yeah, it should be pretty good. These like black lines always like appear when I think they're gone. That sucks. Okay, I think I fixed it. Yes. And then after that, we're just gonna turn on motion blur, and then we're gonna use R to bring up rotation, and we're gonna do Z rotation, and then it's gonna start from the right, and then click the stopwatch, press S, stopwatch, and then it's gonna start like right here. So press U, move these keyframes back if you have to. Wait, why did that rhyme? And then go forward a few frames, and then you're gonna change it to 0. And then for scale, you can move this position, not position, but move it upwards, and then you can scale it up a little if you have to, but I really don't think you need to for real, but we'll scale it down a little bit. But anyways, turn on motion blur, and then highlight over these, press Y, and then we're gonna use speed graph actually. So speed graph, I lied, we're gonna do value. So click one of them, and then we're going to do value graph, do something like this, then do the same thing for the second graph, something like this. Yeah, and then we should get something like that. Period. It looks pretty good, y'all. Like, don't play, it's pretty smooth. But anyways, now we need to do the actual part where it like comes together and connects, like Connect 4 type. But anyways, basically if you look at the like reference thing, it starts like, it kind of rotates low-key. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna first focus on position. So we're gonna go to the part where it fully connects, which is right here, and then you're gonna click the top one, and then click the last one of those layers and press P. Press it again if you have to, and then press the stopwatch, and then all of them are selected, and then you're gonna go to the beginning, and then you can just move these individually. It starts like this. You can actually move them with your cursor if you want, just so it's like easier, and it starts spread out like so. Hold on. Yeah, so start spread out. This one's in this corner, this one's over here, and then of course this one's over here. And then guys, once you play it back, it connects. But guys, we're gonna do like a speed graph so it connects when this spin is like finishing. So you're gonna highlight over all these, highlight over all of these, and then you're gonna right click one of them, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and then you're gonna go into your graph editor. Instead of moving them one by one, you're gonna go to speed graph and move all of them. So you're gonna highlight over this point, move this towards the center, drag over this point, move this towards the center, and keep doing that until it reaches that point of the blue line. And then of course, turn on motion blur. If they're all selected, all the motion blur should turn on. And then once you play it back, it should look something like that. And like, yeah, boom. And then guys, to like tie it all together, what we're gonna do is add a no layer for all this. So do a no layer, and then you're going to click the top one, click the bottom layer for the like ones coming in, and then you're gonna connect it to the no layer. And then at the like end of this, you're gonna press scale and then do rotation as well. Go to the beginning, and then you're gonna press U, and then you're gonna scale this up and then rotate it a little bit to the right. And then you're gonna do the same exact thing, but this time you're gonna highlight over these and then ease them, graph editor, do the same exact thing, drag over this point, move them together, drag over this point, move it together, and then we get this cool like, yeah, that. But guys, low key, they like rotate individually, but I feel like that's gonna take too much time out of our stuff. So I think I just wanna go the route of, yeah, you know what I mean. But anyways, now we have to worry about the opacity. So I'm going to click all of them, press T, and then it's going to start at 0. So click 0 for one of them, and then they should all move to 0. click the stopwatch for all of them, go forward a few frames, and then set it to 100. And then after that, yeah, it should do that. But I'm gonna move it out just a little bit more. Yeah, and then it should do something like that. And then guys, what we're gonna do after this is actually like do like opacity stuff. So towards the end, it like changes opacity for some of these. So it's like this one, and no, this one's like higher. So this one, you're gonna do like a lower opacity. So like this, and it's kind of like flickering, kind of. But yeah, it changes back to 100, then it goes down. So we'll be doing this for like all of them, kind of. But yeah, hold on. I'm trying to find which ones are lower. All right, so this one's lower, and then click the mask opacity, go back a few keyframes, change this to 100, and then it should lower until like a few of them are there, and then it's gonna go to 0, basically. And then this one's lowered, so press T, do a graph, not a graph, but do that, and then lower the opacity like so. Ooh, I forgot about this. All right, so you have to be careful with opacity because you can see the like black lines or whatever, or you know, the dark lines because the masks are a little bit different. And yeah, you have to be careful with that. So I suggest not doing the ones like literally right next to each other. I suggest doing the ones that are close enough to each other to a point where you can like see them, I guess. And then at the end, we can just highlight over all these, well, select them all, click this like button with the triangle right there, and then go towards the end and change it to 0. And then all of them will disappear. And then also you can select all these ones and like move them, but like anyways, I think that's fine. If you want, you can add flicker to some of these to make it like a little bit cooler. I think with remakes, it doesn't have to be very exact. You can just do like, of course it should be similar, but it shouldn't be like what is it called? It shouldn't have to be like the exact same, because if someone says you stole it because you remade it too well, you can be like, oh, I did this a little bit different, so this should be a little bit different, you know? So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to add S under flicker. Yeah, right here. I'm trying to see how this looks. Yeah. I think the flicker adds a little bit more to it. It's not as, you know, bad, but yeah. Basically, what we're gonna do is make the opacity go down a little bit and then go to 100. And guys, in the center, the image actually changes, like the opacity changes with this one. So what we're gonna do is basically import a new photo. And this time, I'm like all out of pictures, honestly. So I'm gonna need to get more, but you can change that. I low-key don't want to change it. I think I'm just gonna have it slide down because yeah, we want this edit to be just a little bit different. So we're gonna go forward a few frames and then we're going to have it slide down just like so with position. And then yeah, I honestly might do a speed graph for this slide down because why not? So highlight over these and then easy ease them, of course. And then we're gonna do speed graph. Speed graph is pretty tough, guys. And then as you can see, yeah, it's gonna slide down. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. And then if you want, guys, you can like pre-compose all this and have it like zoom in just a little bit just so it has more movement. But yeah, I'm gonna pre-compose this part and then I'm gonna have it scale in just a little bit, just like so. So like when it starts flickering, yeah, I'm gonna have that scaling, and then I'm going to do a graph like this. Not too tight though, because yeah, that's way too tight. And so yeah, I think that little zoom in adds a little bit more. So oh gosh, okay, period. And then guys, we come into like our final images because we're almost done with this edit, guys. So right here, I also forgot there's like hue saturation on here. So if you want, guys, if you want to add a little bit more to this, just add hue and saturation to a few of these and have it change saturation like just a little bit. I think this like is way cooler than like changing all of them at the same time. And then of course, yeah. Okay, so if you want, you can copy and paste the effect, but honestly, I'm just gonna do like the little keyframes or whatever. And then yeah, I think this is pretty cool. So what I'm gonna do is also change the center a little bit. Just so it's like a little bit different from the rest. Like right, maybe, I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe right here, it can start at 0. So we're gonna change that to -100. And then it's gonna go from 100 to 0. But yeah, I'm also gonna change this one right here. Just so you can like really see, I'm changing things, guys. I'm changing things. But yeah, after that, it should look something like this. I think this is pretty cool, guys. But yeah, I need to get some new images actually. So I'm gonna go to Safari really quick and then I'm going to go to Pinterest. Guys, I'm using Pinterest for these photos, so if you want to like get some images, I highly suggest doing that. So let's search up Frank Ocean. All right, so we have our final photos. I'm going to import that really quick. All right, so I'm going to use this photo right here, and then there's going to be one more after that. So yeah, we're very close to the end, guys. So what we're going to do is it's going to start right here. So we're going to add some motion blur to that, and then I'm going to scale it down, of course. Press P, and this one is 3D, so we're going to be using 3D. Press the stopwatch, and then drag that backwards a little bit, and then you're going to move this upwards because that's when it starts, and it kind of starts like low right here. And then highlight over all these, easy ease, and then we're going to do a value graph. But guys, I forgot to separate the dimensions once again, so remove the X position and the Z position, and then you're going to have to easy ease these again. Hold up, highlight, easy ease, and then go into your value graph, and then you're going to do something like this. And then guys, I'm going to have it rotate, so press R, and it does a Y rotation, so it ends like right here, and then you're going to go to the beginning, and it's going to go like something like, hold on guys, okay, so it should be -1. Let's do -160. No, we're going to do 160. Sorry guys, positive numbers and negative numbers. But anyways, yeah, so basically highlight over this, and then we're going to do a graph like this. Hold on, basically kind of the same as the last ones, but yeah. And then guys, last thing for like the thingamabob, press layer, new, and then you're gonna add a light, because that light is gonna add like that like flicker effect, kind of, not flicker effect, but you know what I mean, guys. And then guys, right here, this one's pretty simple. So basically it scales out. Yeah, so press S on this layer, and then you're gonna have it scale out when this picture pops up. So basically, hold on, scale out right here just a little bit so we cover up the other image, and then highlight over these, easy ease, and then you're gonna do a speed graph, and then you're gonna do something like this. And then our last picture, Command I, we're going to use this one right here. Pretty tough. Frank Ocean is like a cool guy, guys. But yeah, and then scale that down, pressing S, and then after that, I'm going to cut it like around here, and then it's gonna come in right here. And then we have that like swipe up thing. I don't know what this is called, but yeah. Basically, the way this comes in, it's like a rotation slide in thing. So, oh, for this bottom layer as well, the opacity goes down a little bit. So right here, press T, and then it starts at 100, ends at like 0 probably. And then for this one, we're going to press P, click that, and then we're gonna press R, click that, turn on 3D, and I'm just gonna do all these so I can see which one to use, and then highlight over these, and then just move these back a little bit, and then we're gonna do a mid graph when that comes on the screen. So first of all, we're gonna move this back over here actually. So don't put that in the beginning, put them back here. Go to the beginning, or like when it like, you know, does this, and then basically it looks something like this. Hold on, sorry guys. It looks something like this, and then we're gonna move the position like up here. So move the position forward a little bit like this, and then it's going to move back like that, if you can tell. Yeah, and then just move this to the very beginning, and then highlight over all of this, or the ones that you need, easy ease them, and then we're gonna do a mid graph like about here. Honestly, we can always move the mid graph, but you don't even have to do mid graph. You can just do a regular graph. You can just do something like this. Yeah, I think this is a lot better. So you can just move it all to the left, and then yeah, and then turn on motion blur. That's the last move. And then of course we're just gonna finish this off. This is a logo as well, so I'm not gonna do that part, but yeah. And then yeah, it's going to like scroll up, and to do this, what you're gonna do is press P. But what I suggest doing is pre-composing all of this right here. So pre-compose that, and then you're gonna press in your effects and presets, clicking in there, and then search up motion tile, and then you're going to add that on there, and then change the output height to like 200, 300. I'm gonna do 300 just because 3 is my number. And then you're gonna move the position, press P, go forward a few frames, and then you should get this like thingamabob like that. And then as on top of that, you're gonna press S, and it's gonna scale up a little bit, because I think that's what it does. And then you might have to move this position as well. press U on there, and then just add your graph. And basically we're doing, oh my gosh, I forgot to separate the dimensions again. Separate dimensions, guys, and we're gonna remove the X position, and then easy these again, and then do an out graph for your value graph. And then we're gonna do something like this, something like this, and then for scale, do the same thing, something like this, something like this, something like this. Oh wow, you can't even see the motion tile. What the heck? Okay guys, hold up. Oh, I can't see it. All right, then turn on motion blur, and then you're done. So that was pretty simple, right guys? Right guys? And then this is pretty fast, so I suggest just moving this keyframe back. Yeah, so it should be like maybe 1 or 2 frames. And then yeah, I'm gonna add like motion blur on this or whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna add shakes and panning and all that in a second, but you are basically done. And then of course, just pre-compose all this when you're done, so then you can get that loop effect. But for the shakes, okay, I'm going to do this part really quick. But what I'm gonna do, guys, this beginning part, this isn't really important. So basically, we don't need that part. So what I'm gonna do is just make the edit go in reverse. So I'm gonna search for my sticker, just so we have a little bit of watermark in there. Hold on, let me find it. All right, so I'm gonna have my sticker in the beginning, and I'm just gonna scale this down, of course. And then after that, I'm going to cut this off real quick. And then it starts right here, so the sticker is gonna stop right there. All right, 1 sec. All right, what I'm gonna do is pre-compose all this now, because yeah, and then pre-compose this. And guys, we're gonna watch it back really quick because we deserve a watch. And then yeah, so yes, it looks pretty good, guys. But yeah, I think we could add like a lot more flash and stuff. But guys, what I will add is some shake in the beginning and stuff. Yeah, okay, hold on. Okay guys, 1 sec. All right, 1 sec. Guys, for the shakes, oh guys, I'm so over this tutorial. I feel like this video is already too long. And if I start doing tutorials and stuff, it's just gonna be way too long. But yeah, I don't think I need to add many shakes, but what I will do is add some panning because this bad boy is stiff. So right here, I'm gonna pre-compose this one more time, sorry. And then when you duplicate it, you just put it on the side of it, and then it repeats. But yeah, basically it fades out. But before I duplicate it and stuff, I'm going to duplicate for the beginning. No, I'm gonna add panning in RSMB. So I'm gonna add panning. I actually have a preset. These are my settings right here, and then this is my settings for X, Y, and Z. I gave it away in one of my videos. I might put it in the description if you guys like want it. But yeah, I'm gonna decrease the frequency. Yeah, I think these settings are pretty good. But yeah, I feel like there's some tiny details I don't know. There's some vignette right here that we missed. If you want, you can go back and add all that, guys. I'm telling you guys, you can do whatever you want. What was I about to say? Yeah, add all that if you want. I think sometimes I overthink and I can't overthink, guys. But yeah, add some of that vignette, some of that saturation difference or whatever, and yeah, just do what you feel your heart desires, and literally just do it. And then at the beginning it's at 0. All right, let me look at this really quick. Okay, yeah, so just that stuff, guys. And then of course you can add Minimax and all that extra stuff. Yeah, I think Minimax looks really good though. But yeah, that is the end of my tutorial for real. I'm just gonna pre-compose this and then add this to the beginning, and then I'm going to reverse it, so then it reverses into it. Hold on, reverse layer, add this to the beginning really quick. Hold on. So yeah, basically what I do usually is have it go from 0 all the way back to 100 basically. And then what I also do is change the saturation, and I change that to 0. And then I usually have my watermark scale down, if that makes sense. So something yeah, and then I have it scaled down as well. So yeah, and then after that it just repeats, and I'm basically done. And then of course you can add logos and watermarks. But yeah, that is the end of this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I'm just gonna add some RSMB and Flickr and all that. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I love you guys so much. Suggest more edits that you want me to remake for this series, and I'll see you in the next video. And yeah, bye.